Welcome into the latest edition of Sports Burst. Sorry, Barca fans. Lautaro Martinez's release clause is set to expire today, and Barca aren't buying, with Bartomeu also calling Neymar's return unlikely. We head to Barcelona to get the latest from Jamie Easton. Then Matchday 35 kicks off today on beIN Sports, meaning only 4 rounds to go in the Spanish top flight. We preview the round and Atletico Madrid in action today. And then we hop on the transfer train and look at the big money moves already made this window during a time when people said the pandemic would affect the market. Doesn't look like it, yet at least. Sports Burst starts now. Hey there again, this is a reminder to send us your comments. Can Barcelona continue next season with the squad that they have, or is that already writing off the season if they can't get any big money signings? We'll get to that chat in just a bit. Let's take a look at what's in store today on beIN Sports. Valencia host Valladolid as Los Che look to get back to winning ways after 4 matches without a win. This followed by Celta hosting Atletico Madrid. Celta looking to make it 9 points between them and the drop zone. And on beIN Extra Segunda División action for free. Yes, our beIN Extra channel is free of charge. No contracts needed. You can catch us on Samsung TV, Roku TV, and more. Check out beinsportsextra.com for more info on that. And just like that, we're going to head to Barcelona, where our Jamie Easton is standing by. Jamie, Lautaro Martinez's release clause is set to expire today. Bartomeu says that Neymar coming back is unlikely. None of this is really new, but it just confirms that probably no mega money signings for Barca this window.
Yeah, that's what President Bartomeu said 3 or 4 months ago, Gabby, when he just assured that there will be big problems for big clubs in Europe just to do those mega signings we were used to in other years. He specifically said that he was looking towards exchanges between clubs, no big investments. And now we know that Lautaro Martinez is no longer having a buyout clause, but despite that, Barcelona will still try to sign him. They want to reach a deal with Inter Milan. We'll see what is that deal and if it includes some players, because Antonio Conte still likes the idea of signing Arturo Vidal. Regarding Neymar's case, obviously that depends on PSG too. Barcelona doesn't have all the power to say on that, despite it's who Leo Messi would like to bring to Barcelona. But it will be very difficult, and today President Bartomeu said that it's unlikely to happen. But anything can happen from now until October, because the signing market will be open until October this year.
Yeah, that just gives us more time to speculate and talk about these transfers that we absolutely love to hate. Jamie, sticking with Barcelona, though, we actually didn't get to ask you this for the past couple of days, so I want to hit on it now. Barcagate, the investigation has concluded. What were the findings?
Well, the investigation has concluded, but the controversy has not concluded at all here in Barcelona, because President Bartomeu assures that everything was okay, that there was no Barcelona trying to put all those tweets, all those comments on social networks. It was only the company that they hired to do that. The thing is, and the big question is now, if Barcelona will sue that company, because if they don't, it would look quite strange. What is obvious is that Barcelona paid more money than they had to that company, because all the services were not included. And now what we are expecting here is now to know if Barcelona will continue to do the work that it has to be done with the same company, if they will sue them, or if they will cut the relationship. We'll have to wait and see that. But until today, the official conclusions of the club is that everything was fine, Gabby.
Yeah, well, it looks fine, but as you said, the controversy is certainly still alive. Before we talk about tomorrow's match, Barcelona in action against Espanyol, I want to look a little bit further ahead. There's some rumors that the second legs of the Champions League, the remaining matches still left to be played, will be played at the home stadium, which means that Barcelona could be playing at the Camp Nou. Is that correct? What's the latest on that?
Yeah, that's correct. That's what we read yesterday from Javier Maroto. He's a journalist from AS. He has very good relationships with UEFA, and he's always said things as they are. So inside the club, they are quite more relieved right now, because they had a very, very nasty idea in the head, which was going to Portugal and to play in Porto against Napoli, that game they have left, and they didn't like that at all. They believed that was unfair, despite they understood the worries, the concerns of UEFA to just put all the games in the same country, just to low risks of the COVID-19 situation in Europe. But Barcelona obviously wants to play that game at home. They believe that is what it has to happen, and that is what it will happen, according to our mate in Diario AS.
Yeah, great information there. Would certainly be good news for Barcelona and Barca fans. Always nice to play at your home stadium. And speaking of Barcelona, they are in action tomorrow. Matchday 35 kicks off today. Barcelona host Espanyol. Some training news, though. Some key absences still. De Jong, he returned to training, but he's not in the squad. What's the latest team news?
Exactly. Frankie de Jong returned to training session despite Kiki Setien said that it's too early to see how he really is. We'll see if tomorrow he can train with the rest of his teammates, and the day after too, because they have to go to play to Valladolid on Saturday, and maybe that could be the first time we see de Jong included in the squad list, probably not in the starting 11. They want to go slowly with de Jong, no risks at all, because Champions League will be played the next month, and that is an important, obviously, competition for Barcelona. This will be an interesting derby, Gabby, because it will be the drama derby. If Espanyol wins, Barcelona could definitely say goodbye to La Liga. But if Espanyol doesn't win, they say goodbye to La Liga too, because they will play next season in La Segunda División. So drama without fans at the Camp Nou.
And we love a drama derby. Absolutely love that, Jamie. Thanks as always for your information. We'll be touching base, I'm sure, tomorrow on that match. Time to welcome in Thomas Rongen to the show. Thomas, who's socially distanced alongside with me in studio with another fabulous top, because he is the best dressed man at beIN Sports. Welcome in, Thomas. Just like Jamie said,
Gabby.
We kick off a new match day today. Can't even believe it's already match day 35. Let's take a look at what fixtures are in store across beIN Sports. Today, obviously, as we said, Celta taking on Atletico Madrid and Valencia taking on Valladolid earlier in the day. Those matches are highlighted for you. We're going to break down a lot of these and look at the La Liga table and see where we stand. But Thomas, looking at these fixtures, which one are you most excited about?
Well, I'm excited about both, actually, with Celta, and I'm calling that game with Andres Cordero and Atletico Madrid. It's just a matter of Celta wins, they're probably safe, 9 points out of relegation. If Atleti wins, they're pretty much in the UCL again this year, and then the focus can shift a little bit. So both games are great. Valencia, in order for them to stay in this race somewhat for Europe, it's a must-win, although it might be too late for them. So both games are really, really important for all the four respective teams, be it Europe, be it UCL, be it relegation, or be it staying up.
Absolutely, and you just led us perfectly. Let's look at where the La Liga table currently stands, and we're going to break down the table from top to bottom and preview these matches along the way. Real Madrid are top, 4 points clear of Barcelona with the head-to-head in hand. Third place, Atletico Madrid, just like you said, with a win, pretty much solidifies their Champions League spot. They've been sensational since the restart. Sevilla picked up a win yesterday, which is good news in their fight to hold off Villarreal and Getafe, who actually go head-to-head in this match. They talk about a partidazo. Athletic Club, though, also still in the race for Europe. Only, let's see how many points there. Only 6 points separate fourth place and eighth place. So really, the La Liga table is tight as can be. Let's look at the bottom half. Celta's loss, or Celta is in action today, of course. With a win, they'll be 9 points above the relegation zone. Mallorca, all eyes on Mallorca this week, because with a win, they can keep some hope alive, Thomas, but it really is going to be tough for Mallorca, Leganés, and Espanyol. Of course, their fate could be sealed in that match against Barcelona. Let's start with the title race. Barcelona, Real Madrid going head-to-head. 4 points separates these guys. Can Barca catch them?
It's interesting. We all remember when Piqué came out after the Sevilla game and said it's going to be very tough for us. And it's even gotten worse. The gap got bigger after that game as well. So Piqué obviously knew this would be tough. He was hoping that Madrid would squander some points, which they haven't, and they have. Barcelona, that matter. 4 points is huge. Head-to-head is in favor of Real Madrid too, because the win at home against Barcelona. And Real Madrid plays Villarreal, which, by the way, is fighting also for European qualification, but finally got found out in their last game. And Leganés, you're right. If Leganés can win their next game, maybe, then there's still hope for survival, and that could be a tough game for Real Madrid. Barca, by the way, Espanyol is their next game, and Espanyol showed against Madrid 1-0 on a penalty that they're still a tough team to play against. But this gap of 4, being able now to lose more than just a tie. You could potentially lose a game, Real Madrid, and with 4 left, I just don't see it happening. But this is a funny old game, Gabby, so it's not over till the fat lady sings.
It is, and that match, Barcelona taking on Espanyol, just as Jamie Easton said, the drama derby, as he called it. A loss for Espanyol would mean that they are relegated. Barcelona are without Umtiti, De Jong, and Junior Firpo, and of course, Ousmane Dembele, who's been injured for quite some time. Thomas, we haven't had you on since Barcelona's last match, where Quique Setien put forth a diamond that finally worked. We finally saw the best in Antoine Griezmann. We finally saw this Barcelona firing on all cylinders, perhaps their best match under Quique Setien. What did you make of their last performance?
Well, it was their best performance till date, obviously, and a few things that stood out. Yes, that starting 11, not only the starting 11, but the system within the starting 11, a 4-4-2 with a diamond midfield, with Messi on the top, with Vidal on one side going up and down, and also covering for the overlapping fullback, because now you get more of a defensive player there. Alba can play really, really wide, because also on that left side, they had some hard-working players and allowed Griezmann finally to play centrally, and not just centrally in a 4-3-3, in a 4-4-2, which means that him and Suarez played next to each other against 2 center-backs. And the center backs now, in a 2v1 situation against Suarez, can step towards Messi. The occupation of 2 center backs, and Messi being a true 10 finally. Not a right winger coming inside. No, a true 10 had really the run of the play. And Messi ran the show against a team, Villarreal, that don't have a holding midfielder, that play with 2 players in there that are more number 8s. So what a good start for Setien. What a great find for Setien. And how good was Sergi Roberto on that left side and Vidal on that right side, allowing, as I said again, Alba to almost become a left winger, because now they got players that can cover, and Busquets can just sit there centrally, and they look very solid throughout.
I have a question for you, because yesterday I asked Jamie Easton this question. We always knew that Antoine Griezmann was playing out of position. We knew that this system would suit him best. What took so long for Quique Setien and Barcelona to make this adjustment? Was it the hierarchy above Quique Setien that didn't allow it? Is it a Lionel Messi who's saying he doesn't want to play in that true number 10 role and he wants a more free role, not allowing Griezmann to play where he usually plays? What do you make of that situation? Or is it Barcelona sticking to their true colors in the Johan Cruyff days and sticking to the 4-3-3, which is what Jamie thought? What's your take on it?
And I agree with Jamie. And in particular, when they brought in a coach after Valverde that was a Cruyff, a Pep Guardiola disciple, believed in their philosophy, the 4-3-3, getting rid of those great wingers we've seen throughout the history of Barcelona. And I felt that he felt compelled to play somebody on that left side. And unfortunately, the 2 options were Fati, a very young player, or Griezmann. And because of Griezmann's big transfer and salary, he was forced to play somebody there that absolutely was out of his depth. And not out of his depth because he doesn't know how to play there. It's just because positionally, that's not what Griezmann has played throughout his career. Maybe 1 or 2 years, he floated on the left side a little bit when he started in La Liga. But for the French national team, he plays underneath or next to Giroud. In Atleti, he was a Costa or an other bigger body, and he can play underneath. And that's his great strength, because in all 3 goals, i.e. right here, he's centrally. So he makes, although he didn't score there, he forces people in tough positions. On this one, you don't see it. He's taking the other center back away, so Luis Suarez and Messi are in a 2v2 situation. And then the 3rd goal, he scores as well. So in essence, what a back heel, by the way. In essence, he's involved in all 3 goals, either through movement, either through making it hard on the defender, the own goal, or scoring himself from Messi finally, because he's finally in a position where he's most comfortable, which means I have to be centrally in front of the goal in the 18-yard box with Luis Suarez.
Right, and I think a lot of people agree with you. They saw the best side of not only Messi, not only Griezmann, but of this entire Barcelona team. A question for you in the comment section, Thomas. Thomas, do you think De Jong will be better in the new setup with Messi at the top of the diamond? Will this new system suit De Jong when he does return?
Yes, because with Ajax, really, they also play a hybrid of a 4-3-3. Talking about philosophy, that's where it all started with Johan Cruyff with Ajax in the late 60s. Then he brought that with Rinus Michels to Barcelona. But they've tweaked things as well right now. On paper, you see 4-3-3, but De Jong plays in that left channel. So that left channel, we obviously, yesterday we had Vidal on the left, and we had Sergio Roberto on the left, Vidal on the right. So one of those two, when De Jong comes back, will sit. And I would think right now that you could take either or. I think Roberto staked his claim. Vidal brings what Vidal can, but getting another better footballer, don't get me wrong, Vidal, just a technically a little bit of a better footballer on the pitch will help Messi, Suarez, and also Griezmann. Get a fourth player in there, like Push did for a while. I was a little surprised he didn't start. That allows Messi to play higher up the pitch because De Jong can play make now out of deeper position. So it's more economical for De Jong and it's more economical for Messi, Griezmann, and Suarez.
Yeah, Ricky Puig, just like you said, really a stellar breakout season he's having. Jaben Karama saying, we need to praise Lucas Ocampos for that great game he had yesterday. Jaben, shout out to you. Absolutely. Lucas Ocampos, the goal scorer, and also the keeper in the final seconds of the match to deny Dimitrovic, the other keeper from that shot.
Amazing.
Check out those Sevilla highlights on beINSports.com. If you guys haven't seen it, you can thank me later. Let's take a look at what matches Barcelona and Real Madrid have in the remaining 4 matches of the La Liga campaign. Here is a look at Barcelona's remaining matches. Of course, tomorrow they take on Espanyol, then they take on Real Valladolid, Osasuna, and Alaves, and then a look at Real Madrid's remaining fixtures. We thought Real Madrid would drop points against Getafe and Athletic Club. It's hard to imagine them dropping points anywhere but Villarreal here, Thomas, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Saying that, you look at Barca's dropping points, with teams that we thought they would pick up 3 points, but the reasons were because the team didn't click on all cylinders. Real Madrid right now looks invincible. And yes, they grinded out from the results. And yes, there were some penalties along the way as well. But good teams force their own luck. They don't depend on somebody else. And that's where you see the mentality, the mindset of this team, which is, by the way, the mindset of their coach. They're so committed right now. They're so tough mentally, and they're playing some good football. Although in that final third, again, without Hazard, which is still the big question mark now. Is he fit? Is he not fit? Does he play? Yes or no? They just keep going at you. And the key, again, is you look at Carvajal draws a penalty. Marcelo draws a penalty. We're talking about 2 fullbacks, and all late in games that still get in the opponent's 18-yard box. That's big time, by the way. That's 4 sets of lungs, and that typifies Real Madrid right now. It's over their dead body. I don't think they will drop points anymore.
Thomas, I was going to move on. We're going to talk about the race for Europe in just a minute, but you just brought up the whole VAR situation, the whole pulling for penalties late in the matches, and I want to ask you about Diego Simeone's comments. He said that Real Madrid are getting these calls simply because they're in the attacking third more and creating those opportunities more, and that's why they're getting fouled more. Do you agree, or do you believe in the campaign to make Real Madrid champions?
No, and if there's one straight shooter or 2 straight shooters, it's Simeone and Thomas Rongen. I just finished this segment by saying Carvajal and Marcelo still late getting into the box. And then you talk about Vinny getting into the box. The ability for them to get in the final third, to put defenders in tough situations, because if there's any kind of contact and it becomes a 50-50, it could favor Real Madrid, which it has in a few occasions, although I think all penalties were the correct calls. But the mere fact that you get numbers in the box throughout this match means that systematically and from a overall hierarchy standpoint that you're doing a great job. And Simeone, absolutely right. It's the style of Madrid and the ability for them to put players of the opposing team and referees in tough positions to have to make tough calls.
Line of the show, 2 straight shooters, Thomas Rongen and Diego Simeone. Absolutely love it. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about the race for Europe, a very tightly contested race that will go down to the wire. Just like we said, Atletico Madrid and Sevilla currently in the 2 Champions League, the final Champions League spots. Villarreal and Getafe currently in the Europa League places, but Real Sociedad and Athletic Club just behind them. 6 points separates separates 8th place and 5th place. Thomas, for you, who do you think will eventually finish top 6 when all is said and done?
With 4 games left, I'm looking at the Getafe-Villarreal game that's coming up as a huge game. That's a 6-pointer. The winner of that is in a pretty good position, let's be real honest. Then you got Villarreal versus La Real as well, a little bit later on. Those are all 6-point games. And if I look right now and say, La Real, it'll be tough for you to get into a 4th position in terms of Sevilla. I think that's wrapped up, so it's not really number 5 and 6. And then I look at goals for and goals against. And right now, Villarreal is plus 10 and Getafe is plus 11. The other teams are a little bit lower. So I always look at that gap because that means there's balance in the team. Right. They're defensively solid and they can score goals as well. Villarreal, 54 goals, 44 against, 42 for Getafe, but only 31 against. So in 4 finals that you play right now, defense still win, in my opinion, the big game for clubs like this. And then I favor, as I said again, Getafe and Villarreal still to go 5 and 6 for the European slots, 6 being obviously the play-in for European qualification. I think 1 through 4 with Sevilla, with that win, is pretty much sewed up.
Yeah, so just like you said, tomorrow, a major battle in this final 6 finish. Getafe taking on Villarreal. This is going to be major not only for the head-to-head, because, I mean, both of these teams need a win. Both are just outside of the Champions League places. Well, Villarreal certainly are. Villarreal have made a sensational push since the restart, Thomas. What do you think has changed for them? What is clicking finally? And they will be without maybe Barca and Paco Alcácer, who are nursing minor injuries, so perhaps 2 iffy players there. But what do you make of this team who have just clicked?
Yeah, I would take the last game because they ran into a Barcelona that was so highly motivated to show the rest of the world that they still can play, because a lot of criticism, then the big players stepped up, let's be real honest. So forget that one. 5 out of the last 6 games, they kept a 0, which they didn't against Barca, which means to me, again, if they go back to their normal spirit and their system, that they can win out games, obviously. Now, Getafe and Villarreal, the loser of that game opens the door maybe for La Real and maybe Athletic Club still to get back into it if they win games, obviously. But Villarreal right now, 5 clean sheets of 6 it was. Obviously now they lost against Barca. And they found ways now to win ugly. Yeah, in these phases, 1-0 games are ugly. And Sevilla had 2 or 3 of those. There was a 2-2 in between there, and the rest was 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. So that shows it's a team that's diligent enough to defend at long stretches, take their chances when they come, and there might be not a lot of them, so you have to be clinical in front of the goal. And that's where players like Alcácer have done a great job for this team.
Yeah, Matchday 35 really gifting us some gems. Be sure to tune into that all week long on beIN Sports. We're going to shift gears, go from La Liga to Major League Soccer. FC Dallas has been removed from the MLS tournament because of 10 or 11. That number is still to be determined. I've been reading both, so we'll just report both. Players testing positive for coronavirus. MLS has decided to withdraw them. Nashville, in a similar situation, they have 8 players who have tested positive. Thomas, is this not a huge red flag that maybe this thing isn't the greatest idea? And it's set to begin tomorrow with Inter Miami taking on Orlando.
Yeah, it's a tough one, as you said. And there's a few other players and coaches, other clubs now in the bubble. They're all in the bubble now, which means, whoa, wait a minute. Have I been in contact with this guy or that guy that's not here anymore? And the right decision by FC Dallas and MLS to remove this team, very similar to the women's, the NWSL, when the whole team of Orlando did not go to Utah. And by the way, that tournament has been great. No players have dropped out of that tournament in Utah, which now is in their 2nd week. I expect still some surprises. Vela obviously opted not to play in this cup for MLS. It's up to the individual players. He wants to stay home with his family. You got Dallas coming out. You got Nashville with some problems as well. So this is going to be a tough situation to handle for MLS going forward, because now you got to change your schedule again, which obviously the broadcasters are not happy about. I'm calling, by the way, tomorrow's Inter Miami's first game for the club. So I'm excited about that. It's tomorrow night. The local team, the stadium I used to play in. So it's pretty cool actually going there and doing radio for Inter Miami. But it's a tough challenge for for MLS. It's a tough challenge for NBA that's following also in Orlando at Disney.
Right, and you mentioned LAFC, Carlos Vela opting out of the tournament also. What kind of message does that send when a high-profile player decides not to go? Not a good one.
No, but I can only compare it to, again, the NWSL, where you got Rapinoe. Most of the U.S. women's national team players from that World Cup, the big names, didn't go. It didn't hamper them to continue to play, and there were some competitive games. You got to move. You got to move on. Yeah, you take a hit a little bit from a PR and a media standpoint. I'm sure sponsors aren't happy. I'm sure the broadcast people aren't happy, because that's your MVP that says, no, I'm not coming. And maybe the domino, because that happened only 2 days ago, the domino could drop of some other players saying, wait a minute, do I want to be here, yes or no? So only time will tell.
Right, and it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out, but it is set to begin tomorrow, so we'll keep an eye on that. 40-second warning, but we do want to show you guys a look at the transfers that have already happened during this very strange time. You know, so much was made, Thomas, of transfers being, affected, and maybe we won't see the mega money, but here's a look at what's been done. These are some staggering numbers, Thomas.
There are some staggering numbers, without a doubt, but the soccer river of money is not flowing anymore. So that's pretty much the bottom line. The big clubs will struggle. The smaller clubs will struggle as well to move players. Like Ajax sells 5 players a year. Not going to happen to survive. And right. Barca, Neymar, probably not.
From the street shooter, Thomas Rongen, and myself, we say ciao, ciao. Tune into the Express Wrap-Up Show tonight for a full wrap-up, 6 p.m. Bye.